welcome to an LA Life podcast. Today is a Wednesday. It is the 14th of August. We're halfway through the month. Kids have gone back to school. College kids are getting ready to go back to school. As always, I hope that things are going well for you. And I want to talk, we're just going to jump right in this morning. And I want to talk about choices that you and I cannot control to begin with. So I want you to think about, what are some of the choices that you cannot control? I made a list of a few for me. One of them is gas prices, right? I drive past the gas station. I cannot control the price of that. At best, I can get a 10-cent discount if I'm a member somewhere, but I don't get to control that. You go to Walmart or you go to Meijer or you go to Kroger, wherever you shop. We do not get to control the prices of groceries. Here's one. For me, I do not get to control other drivers. People that drive around me, I still think people drive too slow. I question, do they understand what's going on? But I don't get to control that. I don't get to control if my team wins or loses. And I do not get to control things like tragedies or sickness and even death. And so those are things that I cannot control. And all of those things really kind of control then my happiness, right? Because it's all based on an outward expression. So if the gas prices are good, I'm happy. If the grocery prices come down, I'm happy. If my team wins, I'm happy. If other drivers drive correctly, I'm happy, right? And if nobody in my family or friend group gets sick, tragedy happens, or death, then I'm happy. But here's the thing that I can control, right? Here's the thing. So I can't control some things, but I can choose to control other things, and that is joy. I have the ability to control joy because it's inward. It's something that's inside of me, and regardless of circumstances of life, regardless of what may be happening around me, I can choose to have joy in my life. Let me read to you a verse. I've read it before. You probably know it. In fact, this is a verse that doesn't make sense, in that it talks about two different things. Well, listen to what it says. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Well, it's the first part of that verse that actually seems like it's talking out of two sides. It says, have joy when you meet trials. Well, that doesn't make sense. I can't come up with any time in my life that I've been in a trial that I found it to be joyful. In fact, the writer there, James, uses this word. He says trials of various kinds. When you look up those words, trials of various kinds, and you kind of dig down through and translate it out, you get to the word face. And so what James is saying is count it pure joy when you face various trials, meaning there's going to be people, there's going to be circumstances, there's going to be objects, and they're all looking at us. That's the idea of face. They're just like staring right at you. And we have a decision to make when they're staring at us. And here's something that I wrote down. We do not have to be joyful for the trials, but we can find joy in the trial. Think about that. I am not joyful when trials happen. But when I'm in the middle of a trial, I get to choose. I'm in control, and I choose to find joy. That's what we find James is talking about here in chapter 1. You'll also notice as you read verses 3 and 4, he says, while you're in a trial, it develops steadfastness. It develops perseverance. And so as the trial continues, and as you persevere with joy, it tells us that we will become complete and perfect. In other words, we mature as a Christian. So James, once again, says, count it joyful. Count it all joy. Again, I cannot control my joy. In other words, when I'm in the middle of the trial, I'm not joyful. But I can choose to find joy in the trial. Let me give you just an example of what that looks like in my life. Today actually marks the 11-year anniversary of my father-in-law's sudden and tragic death. So Missy's dad, 11 years ago, It would have been in the afternoon. We receive a phone call that says we need to get to the hospital immediately. So as I gather up Missy and JC at that time, Tyler was at school down in Indianapolis. We call her and we tell her that you need to get to Hartford City as fast as you can. As I'm driving from LaFountain to Hartford City, there was no time in that trial that I felt any joy at all. In fact, my biggest concern was, can I get my wife to the hospital in time to see her dad before he dies? Well, the answer to that question is no, I did not. We were unable to make it there in time. Tyler was coming up from Indy. We called her and said, slow down. Grandpa has passed. Again, in that trial, I had a hard time with any joy at all, but here's what I found out. I could find joy, I could choose joy, even though that trial wasn't joyful at all. And what happened was, over the next several days and weeks and months and years now, I've taken a different perspective. I've kind of removed myself, and I've been able to see joy by looking back at his life. I could see joy in the way that he loved Missy and the way that he loved the grandkids. I could find joy in the way that he loved me. I could find joy in the way that he loved God and God loved him. I find joy now knowing that he is in his heavenly home, and what an incredible reunion it's going to be someday, and how joy-filled that's going to be when we get there. Again, in the middle of that trial, I wasn't joyful, but I could find joy. I could choose to still have joy when I was able to look at things in a different perspective. I don't know if that makes any sense to you or not, but I'm hoping that whatever you're going through right now, it may not be a joyful time, but you have a choice. You can choose to be joyful, and no matter what's happening or no matter what's going on in your life. And sometimes we just have to remove ourselves just a little bit, just get a different perspective. The trial I'm going through isn't joyful, but I'm going to choose joy in the trial. I think that's what we see James saying today in chapter 1. So hopefully that makes some sense to you today. In my mind, it makes some sense to me, but hopefully you can get something out of it. Here's the other thing. This Sunday, we're going to be here at 9 o'clock and 10:30. I hope you'll join us. But if it's not LaFountain, there are a lot of churches in our area, Wabash and Grant County and the surrounding areas, that you can get plugged into and you can be a part of. So if you can't make it to LaFountain, find some place. You need to be with a community of believers somewhere that can love on you and care for you. There you go. Have a great day. Love you guys.